Hey, what's up, guys? It's your boy Days, and you're about to watch Thorin rant for about 3 hours.
Okay, then let's do the coolest tournament ever, probably, right? The Starladder Major. Because this was another one where, like, to even make the playoffs of this tournament was good. Like, that could have normally been seen as, like, right, that's fine, great job, especially after the summer you guys have had. It's a nightmare. But then, obviously, you guys beat the fucking Ents team, right? If people forget this, everyone knows the story now, but they were going to kick Alexi B. First of all, he was like fragging the fuck out in the tournament. The 3-0 the fucking Swiss system. Like, actually, that should be a team you might be scared of. In fact, if people might now know from teams like G2 and Vitality last year, mate, sometimes the team that everyone knows behind the scene is dead is the worst one to play. That's when they just fucking go crazy, right?
100%. And that's the case, because just imagine being Alexi knows that he's going to be cut. Like, he doesn't give a shit. Of course, he's just going to frag out. Like, he has no pressure. And the team, honestly, has no pressure probably either. But, like, the Berlin Major, I don't know. Like, this was fucking crazy as well. Like, we had, like you said, like, the worst summer, always standings. We did a bootcamp before the tournament, and we started off so poorly. We went 0-2, I think.
Yep.
And then we had to win 3 best of 3s to get into the playoffs. But I can't remember that the first one was versus some randoms, in my opinion. I can't really remember who it was. I don't know if you have it. I don't remember.
I'll figure it out for you. Wait there a sec.
I know it was there was like a Russian team, but I don't remember the players.
Let's see. Looks like it was the one called Dream Eaters, so no one remembers that one, mate.
Oh, true.
There you go. No one remembers that name, to be fair.
So I remember we're like, nice, okay. First step, easy. We beat them. And then we have to play G2 and FaZe to make it. So I think we beat G2 first in the 2-2 game. Sent them out.
It was FaZe first.
Oh, FaZe first. Oh, yeah. The reason why I was going to bring up FaZe is because we beat them 2-1, and I think Vertigo was the third map. And we were down like hard. I think it was like 9-1 or 10-1 or some shit. And we brought it back. So, like, I mean, the tournament could have easily ended there, you know. Everyone thought it was ending there,
sure,
right?
Yeah.
So we just brought it back, and then we went all the way to the semifinal. And we had the dream opponent in the semifinal as well.
If you had to think you're going to the final. If people don't know, I always tell people this, dude, everyone rewrites history, especially because now that team got really good when they became Virtus Pro. What people have to remember was everyone knew who AVANGAR was. They were just like some weird fucking online tier 2 team. And if you go back and look, they weren't even winning lands they went to before. Like, this was like not only a miracle run, but the joke is, like, I'd much rather play them than Vitality. Like, we might beat them and go to the final.
100%. And looking back, like, if someone said to me, like, who did you lose to in the semifinal in Berlin? And I said, like, I had the VP roster, you know? And then I went, yeah, it makes sense.
Yeah, exactly.
But then you're like, I lost to AVANGAR. They're like, AVANGAR? Who the fuck? You know? And like, yes, we played Ents. That was maybe not in a 100% team situation. So that was fair. We beat them. And then we had a perfect opponent for the semifinal. This was like, honestly, it wouldn't be our major. I feel like Australis was not beatable in the final. We would lose to Australis.
No, sure.
But still, like, grand final, not fucking bad, right? Like, semi-final, amazing, but what a perfect path to a final, in my opinion.
And if people don't know, like, I'm almost certain off the top of my head, wasn't it where the first map was Mirage and it was like mega close and then they just like won out? And like, if you win that one, it's 3 maps. Like, it's a different series.
We lost 1917, I think, and we had 15-13 as well on City Side Mirage. So we had the first map in our hand. But we lost those 2 pretty hard, I think. 16-6 or 16 something like that. So the next map was a stump. But yeah, like, usually when, like, if you win that first map, it's different, you know. It's a different semifinal for sure.
Obviously now people will know, although I'll still stay, he is like a magician to me, Jim. I don't know how he tricks people into doing the same style again and again, but it's like no one can play against it somehow. Because the problem is, if you're a fan and you watch the HLTV, obviously it's obvious that you're just going to bait on this corner or like you're just holding an off angle. But when you're playing against every other player in the world, they don't play like that. So you're like trained almost to think like, I should rush the AWPer when he goes on the corner, like I should quickly get him and like tag him and stuff. But basically, like, he's the master of that. Like, he's actually baiting you in. Like, what's it like? He was popping off in these games. What was it like to play against this guy? It must be so bizarre.
Usually the weird thing with our team is, like, we never anti-stratted anyone. Like, right. usually like some teams is like always hard and anti-stratting. We didn't have it. Like, we were playing worse when we did it. That's what we figured out. And then we had to face Jame, right? It was the first time I like faced Jame in like a big competition, or even the first time I ever faced him, honestly. And he was fucking annoying, you know, like, and he gets to you in a way mentally that, because he saves and saves and saves and saves when you win, So like you can never kill him even. Like and when you
he has the AWP, even when you win around, he has the AWP, right?
And when you finally meet him, he has the fucking AWP and he kills you. You're like, this fucking idiot. That was basically your feeling, you know? But like he is a really good player, and honestly the way that like if you think about us as Renegades as this magical Berlin run, imagine what it must feel like for them. Like with less expressions,
Sure.
I feel like, you know, like a worse team than us on paper and in most people's eyes. So I don't know. He must be some sort of a genius, even though like his playstyle is not the most attractive one to watch for sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I don't know.
The player I want to talk about in this team for you guys, though, is like this was probably the best ever year of JKS. Like this is basically, by the way, I think the reason why. Like he'd always been known as like a good player, like he was always known as a clutch player and stuff. But like this year, I think is where like the team not only popped off as a team, but this is why he got the offers to be in other big teams and other big squads. Like, what was JKS like to play with?
I don't know. Me and Justin, JKS has always been really close, good friends. We used to sit together. We always played bomb sites together, and I don't know. For me, like. The reason why he was shining so much was because he was put into the situations by us, the rest of the team, because we believe that he is the perfect person to have in those situations. He will win us games, he will win us rounds, and he will perform when it matters. And he fucking did with us, like no doubt. But like the system that we had, there was like the rounds that like kassad and IJLs etc. like formed and we formed together. It was for Justin to be in those 2v2 situations, 2v1s, 3v2s, 1v2s. And he was a master of it with us. And I don't know, I'm like, for me now it's a little bit surprising after playing with him for so many years. Now in G2, hopefully he gets like a new refreshing start. But like seeing him in complexity, it's painful to watch. It was so painful to watch. Like
yes.
A player that I always died for and I always wanted to be in the clutch is fucking being baited, like honestly. And I don't know, I have so much respect for him because I think he's a really good player. And there is a reason why G2 is picking him up even after that complexity disaster, you know? So, I don't know, playing with him, I always said that because I was trying to get him to Apeks, and of course Apeks G2 it can't be compared right now. And he was like, yeah, because he's a friend of mine, he was like, yeah, he wouldn't say no. But he said to me that he had some really good offers, so he was just going to wait. But I'm sure that he will pop off in G2. I am sure. Unless that the team chemistry just becomes dog shit, I am sure that he will like find his own self again. He's not that old, and so he's not like me anymore.
The theory, what you were saying there, makes a lot of sense because I actually had a similar theory. Because everyone always, basically, people do that silly thing where if someone looks bad now, they were always bad and they were like a fraud or a fake or something. Well, it wasn't like a fucking magic trick. Like he was dropping 30 in these games, guys. You can go watch. But it's like you said, I always thought the same thing because I knew his personality. It's like. Because if you look, like, the joke was he was like a cold zero in that team. Everything was set up for him to carry, right? But the difference is, JKS would never be the one to tell you to all do that. Like, hey, everyone, like, I'm going to carry these fucking, give me all the positions. Like, the premise is, like, the team set him up for that. So I got the vibe when he went to other teams where, like, maybe he's got the huge salary and all these big players. Like, then he just became, like, the guy who gets along. Like, yeah, I'll do this. Or, like, yeah, you can have that spot if you want. Or I'll do this. And I think he kind of gave his game up in a way,
Yeah.
Just a guess.
I mean, I don't know 100% either. But I do agree with you in one way without 100% knowing. I know him, and I know that like he will not fight crazy for his case. Like he's not that person that will, stand up in the room and yell and give me all the best positions. Like, when you sign a huge contract, you come with a lot of new players. Like, and they're like, yeah, I know that you were like amazing on A Mirage, but on this team you're gonna be playing bench on Mirage, on Stain B and Jump. And it's like, okay, fine, I guess, like. He also is for me that person that would say that, But I hope now, because I've spoken with him a lot, like he said that he will get all the roles, all the positions in G2. So I hope that he gets put into all the best positions that he will perform in. But like what you said, like I think it makes a lot of sense. Like that, I feel like that happened in complexity in a way.
The other big result from 100 Thieves is obviously making the Beijing final where you had to play against Astralis. So even though the story of the tournament was Astralis, because they like didn't drop a map, I think that was the one where Glaive was like, I'll just fuck around and have like 1.4 rate or something mental. Like he was the MVP is what I remember. But this was the one where because you got dusted off in the final, people don't know, like to actually make the final, you have to beat really good teams. Like this was another really good run. One of the things about this is if people don't realise the angle, if you're trying to win any tournament in 2019 or 2018, there's a team called Astralis and no one can beat them, and everyone knew that. Behind the scenes, everyone knew you couldn't beat them. Like, you tried, but you sort of know they're going to win going in the match, right?
100%. And look, if you look at the Astralis, they beat us in overtime first map. I think it was a 16-14 or overtime. I can't remember. It was Vertigo. And then they stumped us on the two others. So we had no chance. Like, it was their tournament. But if I don't remember wrong, they like 16-8, 16-0 FaZe in the semifinal as well.
Oh, they smashed them, yeah.
Yeah, I think it was a 16-0 in there. And that's like,
Yes.
that is kind of crazy. So, but it was a big tournament for us. It was only 8 teams, though. It wasn't 16 teams. So it's like, it's less legit in one way. But I think I remember we stumped ENCE, and did we beat Vitality in it?
Yep,
Vitality, yeah. So, that is some legit teams, some legit players, and I thought at the Beijing, because Beijing was... When was Beijing again? I remember the tournament.
It was a couple of tournaments after the major. There was Starladder right before, like Turkey or something. Then you had to go to this tournament in Beijing. It was another one of those crazy schedules of travel.
I think it was one of our first tournaments with 100 Thieves. We had like Pro League and all that stuff. Like, that was later actually, but it was like...
I think this was the first one.
It was actually... And I was like... Because like we of course went from Renegades, where we had like good contracts. We went to 100 Thieves, where we got even better contracts, and we had like we had everything set up for us. Like, we got to move to LA, we had good apartments, amazing compound bootcamp facilities. Like, everything was so good for us, and we were like, this is our home, This we have worked so hard for this. We're in the perfect spot, and we started off with the final. I was like, this is gonna be our year, This is where we're gonna break in, start like. Because we were making quarterfinals, making semifinals, but we were barely making finals when we were not winning. So like a lot of playoffs run, but no trophies, But I had high hopes, but then COVID came and just destroyed us, and everything just kind of died after that. But I think like I wish that I could see what we could have done with 100 Thieves if there was no fucking COVID, Because we got.
I mean, especially your team, because like your team, think about all the travelers. Your team's a fucking LAN team. Like, it's not an online 100%. Team that can just chill in the house. Like, this is great, and you're not even at home. That's the other thing that's whack. Everyone else at least is at home during that shit and being like, well, it's online, but I'm in my bedroom. You guys are stuck. Like, you're like stuck in the LAN boot camp, but just playing online forever. I bet it's impossible to motivate yourself for months and months and months like that.
100%. It was tough, and I remember like I think they said about us there was like over 2 years since last online game. And then all of a sudden, it's like best of 3 versus like no one from America. Like, we didn't even heard about them, and we're losing. We're like, what the fuck is going on? That was tough. I remember it. Like, the online period at the start was really, really tough. Like, because you have this mentality. It's bad mentality as well. Like, you start losing to these teams that you don't really expect anything from, and you're like, these fucking onliners or these noobs, like, and it's like you just create this bad mood, bad mentality in the group. And it was just, I don't know, it was kind of like a nightmare, to be honest.
And then after that, I mean, what's mental is the team was actually starting to get decent. You had that last run, and then the Orcs just like, get out of CSGO, like, we're out. You're like, what the fuck? Like,
they actually offered us to stay.
They did? Okay.
Yeah. They were like, we are willing to keep the CSGO team, but you guys need to stay in America. And America was dead.
Right.
So we needed to stay in LA. Like, if they said to us, like, we will keep the team, and we'll send you to Europe until COVID is over. We would just insta go to Europe. We're like living life, But I remember stuck in COVID. Everyone has girlfriends, everyone has homes. It's not our country. People wanted to get out of there, me included, So, 100 Thieves was 100 Thieves never left CS:GO in the way that people think. Like, we actually had an option to stay. Yeah.
Then what's funny is everyone thinks we're skipping to Apeks. No. You guys don't know the stories. There's a story before that. And here's the story, which is I am friends with Henry G. Spoiler, I actually recommended him to Cloud9. That's right. It's all my fault. No, whatever. I thought it was going to be great, obviously. Right. And the reason I recommended him, Jacob, is because I knew they had a massive budget. That's why when everyone knows, like, Essetag got mega pick. Yeah, that wasn't supposed to be Essetag. That was supposed to be Zipnix. Like, certain other positions weren't supposed to be other players. And I remember what Henry G's, like, shortlists of players were. And I always tell people, the reason why it's so unfair the way that project was judged is because it's almost like he had to go down the whole shortlist, and it was the names at the bottom that he had to sign because everyone said no, or they asked for like absolutely ridiculous money, or people would only join if this guy can join. And the problem with making teams is if you make them from nothing, you can't get Nico to join, because why is he going to join when he doesn't know what the other four are? And then if you can't get Nico, you're not going to get like fucking, let's say, JKS to join, because he's going to go, I'm not going to join my own either. And eventually you have to sign the worst players for too much money, and you can end up like he did. I've heard one of the names near the top of his list was jkaem. I've heard he wanted jkaem, he wanted jks. He asked for a bunch of these players. But so, what is this true? What was the reason not to join the project?
I remember because I had a couple of talks with Henry, and he wanted both me and JKS, and then like I think he first wanted only Justin, and then he wanted us both, and then it was only me. Because maybe Justin had gone other ways. I can't 100% remember. But I remember speaking with him, and kassad was the coach. So I was like, this is almost like a sealed deal, you know? And if I don't remember 100% wrong, like we agreed on the salary. Salary was fine. But it was the buyout that was the problem. Like 100 Thieves wanted... I can't remember. I think first they just wanted 500k, but they went all the way down to 200k. But Cloud9 said, like, we were only paying 200k. And when 100 Thieves finally said, okay, 200k is fine, Cloud9 already signed SATAG.
Right.
That's how it went down. Like 99% sure. And like I was thinking at the time, like when I saw like, oh my god, they bought SATAG. I can't remember what the buyout was, but it was like crazy. And I saw the salary, I was like, oh my fucking god! Like I knew I have seen SATAG doing great in Australis, but fucking SATAG, did they sign Nico or what the hell happened?
I know.
So like for me, it was a little bit of a shocker. I was like, fuck. I always like, because like you of course always think highly about yourself. And I was thinking, like, I think I'm a better player than him, you know? And they weren't willing to pay anything for me, and they were willing to pay that for him. Like, no disrespect to him. Like, it was a little bit, like, shocking. But I guess, like, when I see how it went, like, fine. I don't really give a shit right now, but I was definitely close. It was close to go to C9.
Thing is, though, even though it didn't work out, like, for example, one of the other mistakes they made was, because at the time, again, it's hard to get big names. You had to sort of gamble. Like, the reason they got Woxic is they were sort of gambling that LAN had happened again and he'd be really good again. So it was almost like you were like that's why no one wanted him. And you might, if you'd got him, like, you remember what he was like in 2019, he was fucking sick. So everyone, like, that one didn't work out clear. So, like, it's true, maybe the team never would have worked. But I also always thought they also didn't get the best players. Like, if JKS joined, that'd be a different team, mate. And by the way, a team project like Cloud9, they wanted, because of Flashpoint, they wanted to be in CSGO. Like, that could have been another, like, whole adventure potentially, right?
Yeah, 100%. And what I think when I look at that C9 roster they ended with, there's too many big personalities. And with too many big personalities, it's not going to work. You need to have the guys that is willing to go to war and is willing to sacrifice. And I am always willing to sacrifice. I don't give a shit. Like, I will be entry because it's my best role. And I feel like when you're entry, you are kind of, sacrificing a lot. And I want, of course, to be in the fragging positions on City because that's where I've been shining. So that's what you get with me. But I think they ended up with like too many. I don't know what if you guys say this in English, we will say it in Norwegian. Like, when there's too many chefs,
Too many cooks in the kitchen is what we say.
Yeah. Yes. And that's what I felt with that. That like I feel like Woxic definitely has a personality. Alex definitely has personality. SATAG has personality. And then Messi was this young kid, so he was probably willing to do anything. And who was their fifth? Floppy.
There you go.
So like I think Floppy is a good player, but I feel like they were like, fuck, we can't get a fifth, so let's just take him. He's already on the bench. So
yes. Yeah.
So like the whole roster just made no sense. And I think if they went with me and Justin, I think it would be a better team in terms of chemistry and role wise. So that would definitely be. I don't know. Like I said, it was close, and I don't know where I would be if we actually did that.
Sure. One thing I also wanted to ask about around this time period as well was, since that move didn't happen and you go to the Apeks team, wasn't that also when the rumour was, because everyone remember this is when FaZe was in uncertain territory, because then like Nico left and went G2, and then everyone knows, like, do they break the team up? Do they make a new FaZe? People even thought maybe they just get cut. This was where one of those rumours that have always surfaced every few years, which is like, right, jkaem and Rain, who obviously everyone knows are pals, they're going to make the Norwegian team. And if people don't know, because this is when you were already in Apeks, the team you're in now, but with the Norwegian players, people don't know this. A few people know it sort of, but like Apeks has much better backing than like the level of where the team's been in Counter-Strike, for example. Like, don't look at the world ranking on HLTV. They have real backers, and even at the time, the rumor was they have real people that you could sign these. You could maybe sign Rain and give them a decent salary. So was this something you tried to do? Was it close to happening? It was going to be like you, him, RUBINO, and like basically all the famous sort of Norwegian players. Right?
No, I think it was the players we were talking about was going to be me, RUBINO. No, not RUBINO. Me, Rain, Halserk, that plays for Complexity now. Okay. And then we were uncertain about the two others. But it wasn't close, honestly. Like, we had a couple of talks with Rain. Like, Rain has always been open to come back when the time is right. But he said to me that karrigan is back, and he has promised karrigan, to try again. Because I think they were like in a period after karrigan when Rain wasn't really enjoying it. But it seems now that he has found himself again and he's enjoying it and they're winning. So right now, like I don't think about that right now. Like if it happens later in the stage, fine. I would love to play with him again. But I don't think it was really close to happening at all. Like it was just like small talks, but no serious talk.
Right, obviously, we have given the disclaimer. He is literally your friend and been in teammates with you. And, Norwegians, you'd have all the biases in the world. But, like, let's be real. One thing I think's unfortunate is because now he's in, like, the veteran state of his career where he does play all the shit roles and spots that are really hard to play and stuff like that. Now people don't know how good Rain was. Because, mate, if we go back to when you guys were in FaZe or when he was even before that, he was the clear talent, if you don't know, guys. Even Swedish teams, it's true. Like, Nip was trying to play with this guy. And they're all Swedish, man. They didn't want to have non-Swedes. Like, this, if he'd actually chosen to stay as like a star player and has a big ego, Rain would have been one of the best CSGO players ever, like individually, right?
Like his individual skill is mental. Like I remember first time I saw it, I was like, Jesus Christ, like because it goes all the way back to like the Gathers Day where like none of us were famous or known or anything. Where like it was always 1.6 versus Source players in CSGO, and it was always me and him battling it out, and we were like talking shit to each other, And I was like, "Fuck, we need to try to play together." I'm like, "Holy fuck, this guy is good! Like, we need to play together." And every team I played with him, like he has no ego. The man has legit zero ego. He talks the same way if he has 25-5 or if he has 1 for 14. I don't know. For me, like I always said every time, because all people always ask, "Oh, who's the best teammate you've ever been with? Like, who's the best blah blah blah?" I always say Rain. Like, the man is unique, and there's a reason why. Like, even in periods where he didn't perform in FaZe, I have heard like people said, they were questioning if they should remove him or keep him. I don't think it's true, because what I heard is if Rain was being cut from FaZe, FaZe was leaving CS. That's what I heard. That's how like big he is in there. Like how much trust they put into him. And every player that has played with him as well, even though he wasn't performing, would never want to cut him. I feel like if you ask Nico as well, like I always see Nico like replying about Rain very positive, even though Rain didn't have his best year. Like he had a really good year with Nico, but then the next year wasn't the greatest. So I think Rain, I don't know, fantastic player, and like you said, like if he had a big ego, he can definitely be the superstar of a team.
As cool as it was to see him win the major, it must have been surreal to see him just carry the final and be the MVP and everything.
Yeah, 100%. And what a statement, I feel like. And so for me, like I said to him, it's so deserved. Like there is no one in this CS world that I would wish it for, except myself, of course. But the second one will be him. The man has been through everything, been through good, been through bad, and then after they won Katowice, kind of without him. Like all the people was like spamming minus rain, like, and like minus rain plus JKS. Like, what the fuck? You guys don't think about roles, or like you can't just replace the entry fragger with the lurker. Like doesn't work that way. Like JKS and Rops in the same team. Like people is mental, and I don't know. I'm really happy for him, honestly.
Right, we don't have to spend too much on the EXTREMUM time, but obviously, here's the problem. I always used, because I have to come up with the good lines on the fucking shows. The reason why I always thought this project was a bit naive is because you basically made 100 Thieves, but without JKS, and JKS was the star player. So it's like it was going to be hard to make it work. But like, give me your thoughts on this time period. Like, what was the concept of the team? Was it actually still a good team to play in? It seems like it always kept coming just that close to actually getting going properly.
Yeah, I don't know what like I have been thinking about the EXTREMUM days multiple times. We have been discussing it after, when you have time to reflect. It is hard to say what went wrong, because legit everything went wrong. And yes, replacing JKS was the hardest part, of course. But like we tried to put Bentet into his role, and Bentet is aggressive, into a really passive player's role. Didn't fit. So then we need to like swap around, and it was just a mess. And I feel like we didn't have the same chemistry as we had in the 100 Thieves days. And Bendit wasn't the problem when it comes to chemistry. Like, he was easygoing, he was making jokes, he was funny. But of course, there was a little bit of issue with English in the beginning. I think we expected his English to be a little bit better, because he already played in Genji. But it was, like, his English, when it gets chaotic, was a little bit messy. But like he did, he improved on it a lot, and he was doing everything he could to make that team work. So I wouldn't say like, if we had JKS, we would have been another 100 Thieves. There was just something that wasn't clicking that was clicking before, and I don't really know what like the main issues were. Like there was definitely what should I say, like people's relationship was not on the same level. Like it was pretty, like I can say like I have always had good relationship with kassad, but in the time there, like some of the other players did not have good relationship with kassad at all, and it was a problem with like a big problem of the team. Like we have, me and him has always been good friends, and but I definitely think that was a big factor of the team at least.
One thing I actually want to ask about was kassad as like a coach, because it's funny, people will know a little bit now he's on the broadcast. Obviously, you know he's a little bit spicy. He's definitely not afraid to have an opinion. In fact, he's probably a guy who loves to argue if he has an opinion. But he is also a guy where, because he hasn't had the team that's won the majors and stuff, I've always said, people think I'm overrated him as a coach. It's like, this is the guy, mate, where if you talk to him, he is one of those motherfuckers that, like, it's not just like, oh, remember in that game? He's like, yeah, I'm like round 4 after we lost the piss. Like, he has that sort of memory, mate. Like, he knows all the fucking, and then we were supposed to do this tactic on that round, and then fucking SK was just like, he's one of those guys who can go deep. He definitely has a very set mind on the game. What's he like as a coach? And it seems like you enjoyed playing for him.
I always enjoyed playing under kassad. Like for me, he has this like amazing side of CS that I love. Like he, like every close game, let's say it was like 13-12 or like a round that is like win this, you get control of the game, really important. He had this like his reads that was just like, the fuck, you know, where does it come from, you know? And he had like a great mind of CS. Like he was, and I know that he was like sparring a lot with his Serbian friends like Hunter, etc., etc. And they were creating stuff, creating rounds, creating moves, stuff that like I as a player was benefiting a lot from. So I always liked him there. Like he was a good coach in that regard for me. But then he obviously he is Serbian. They have a different mentality than the Australians, I would say. Also, me and like Norwegian and Australians have more similarities than Norwegian and Serbians as well. So, as a CS coach, I think it was really strong. But on the personal levels, it could be a little bit rough at times between him and some. So like I feel like if he sorted that out, like most parts, it was good. But I'm saying like conflicts could happen. You know, like it wasn't rare. And so like I feel like if he sorted that really out, he would be super good coach, like because the CS understanding is really there, you know. Like I've never worked with anyone that said more like accurate things in CS that would happen, that will happen, that this will happen because, you know, this. So I rate him pretty high.
In the Apeks team you have now, obviously, look, this is a career interview, so I'm not going to go super in depth. It's a new lineup, no one knows what will happen yet. Even so, like, this is also where, like, people should know that the Apeks org can support legit players, because this is actually a really interesting project. If people don't get it, you have, like, you, Sticko, a sort of, like, middle ground. You considered older players in CSGO, but I consider, like, in the middle, you still have years left in your career. Shox is really old, but he's still got some fucking game. He can still win clutches. He still shocks me. Like, he might not be prime shocks, yeah, but he's still got, he's one of those players who, like, in English you say like evergreen for the tree that like never leaves the leaves or whatever, you know. Yeah. He can play CS forever if he wants to. So if he wants to play. And then if people don't know, this is the funny thing. People might know Nork, but they have no idea who the GL guy is. But I always tell people, that's the guy that if I talk to like my friends who are the coaches of the tier 2 teams, they were all raving about this guy. They were like, this guy should be in this team, he's going to be the next one. So like, what's the concept of this team? It seems like quite an interesting bunch of players.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely this. I feel like the skill is there, and like we just need to. Our main issue right now is that we are not on the same page. If we manage to get everyone on the same page, and like I said, I feel like the skill is there. Like we have like JL, like you talked about. He's young, he's super motivated, and he shoots so fucking hard. Like the man shoots headshots. And Nok also has found really good form. Like I know, like I don't really know his stats in NIP, but maybe it was like a little bit inconsistent there. But I don't know, with us he's been really, really strong. So I don't know. I feel like, you know, we can do something really good, but we just need to sort out some minor stuff. And yeah, I mean, the project is of course exciting because of big names, and it helps because people open their eyes about it. You know, like people actually talk about it. Let's say if when we signed Shox, you know, like people start talking about it. Like Shox went to Apeks. Like what the fuck? It's like kind of mind blowing for many. You know, like. The man has been in like every big org, every like good team, won everything, and then he just kind of like goes back a few steps back and kind of tries something else. So I don't know. I really like. I can't talk too much about it. It's fresh, and the results at the beginning hasn't been the greatest. So we're trying to sort it out, of course. So I don't want to go like too depth in it. But
yeah, sure.
I don't know. I hope we can solve it.
You know, when I referenced earlier, because there was a story, if people don't remember, it was actually after Cluj-Napoca. In fact, the drama was at Cluj. If you remember, everyone was at those weird tables that you could sit at when you were like the teams that weren't playing and when you could like look at the big screen. And so what's mad is those tables, even though they were supposed to be just for like players and press, the joke was you'd just look who was on the table with each other and you were like, they're trying to make a team and they're trying to make a team. And you could see this, right? And so famously, I remember this was when that story came out and was broken. So NIP, if people don't know, was going to break up completely because as everyone knows now, like they constantly had drama with their org and all shit like that. So at the time, if everyone remembers, this spark was real. Like Get Right was going to join Cloud9, as mad as that sounds, go to America. And then there was going to be this team that was like a mix of G2 and NIP. And I heard it was like Forest didn't exist. And then I know Rain, but were you supposed to be in this team? Was this going to be like you?
No, I think it was. No, it was not me. It was like was it? Fuck, I can't remember. But was it like only Rain from our team? Maybe Dennis?
I'm not sure. Maybe. Or maybe Dennis as well. Oh, Dennis as well, of course, yes, because obviously they knew that guy. Maybe that was it then, okay.
It will probably be like Exist, Forest, Get Right, Dennis, and Rain. I would
Something
say
like that. Yeah.
Sounds accurate, but there's no open there, but it was probably... That was probably the mix.
Maybe Maikelele was coming back as well. I don't know.
No chance. No chance.
No, okay.
No, it wouldn't be him. Like I always liked Michael, but I don't think...
Can you give me your thoughts then? Because here's the problem. If people don't know, this is where in Counter-Strike, people have got to stop being 14-year-old kids. It's not simple. Like, one guy's an asshole, one guy's the best guy ever. Yeah. It's like, it depends on the circle. Like, the thing with him is he can be super charismatic. And also, at the game, he can be really good. But he can also, he's one of those guys who's crazy inconsistent. He can also be maybe a total asshole and maybe terrible at the game. So, what's it like to play with him?
Yeah, I mean, it's a roller coaster to play with him, honestly. At the start, I liked it a lot. He is very like you said, like he has a lot of passion for it. He has a lot of personality. So it was fun when it was working. But then again, when it's not working, then he is trying to like blame everyone, I feel like. And that was kind of where we had like issues in the team. Like him and Dennis was not on the same page at all. They were kind of trying to like remove each other. And then you have a problem. And in FaZe, I don't know, it was kind of the same. I feel like maybe he grew a little bit too big of an ego. But after speaking with him, like now in recent times, the man is down to earth. I always like
matured
Michael.
A lot.
Yeah, I always liked Michael. Like whatever people is putting out that is super toxic, etc. It's not like he can definitely be toxic, but he's not like the most toxic player in the world. Like there's definitely more toxic people out there. So, like it was a roller coaster, honestly.
Obviously, one thing that is quite cool about CS is we actually don't have to keep it secret if like you could have joined a team 3 years ago or someone else. Were there ever any other big offers you had that you like said no to, or moments you thought like maybe I could have joined this team? Because obviously the cool thing is like what the alternate history would be like, right?
Yeah, I mean there's been a lot of like rumors, but like rumors from like CS people, but I haven't really heard that much. I had like one time I heard Fnatic was interested and they reached out to, I can't remember, it was 100 Thieves or Renegades. And then the one offer I had was from North. North wanted to rebuild and make the Scandinavian team.
Right.
But the meeting was so weird. Like I sent... who did I send? I sent that wasn't my agent, but it was someone that was there for me. Because the time they wanted to do a meeting was like 5 a.m. in fucking LA. So... and then the meeting was like, we don't have money, but we want to build a team. And I was like, okay, that's a weird... That's okay. A weird way to start it. And then they were like 2 days after it, I say like North shut down their.
It's good you didn't sign it, I know.
It was just like I don't know if you can call that really an offer, but like
I know
it was fucking weird. It was weird. So, but not like I've just heard like small rumors, talks like they might be interested, but Cloud9 that time where it didn't really work out, because of the buyout thing. So that was like the big one, I guess.
Well, not in the latter years. You must have had... Here's the thing. I know fans forget about you because if you're not on the screen, they just forget the names, don't they? But you notice people like me, we've always put your name forwards in the potential things. What about this guy? Especially because, by the way, good entry players are pretty fucking thin on the ground. It's a roll up can sometimes suck if you're on the wrong team. So, like, you must... I'm sure there was other times where people were at least inquiring on potentially.
No, but the weird thing is, like, I never received anything myself, but my teammates were always like...
Right.
My teammates thought... Because like, they say like this entry fragger is struggling there, like you're gonna get an offer from NIP, you're gonna get an offer from Fnatic, you're gonna get an offer from blah 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 blah. I'm like, no, I didn't receive any offers, so I guess not. And then because they wanted to keep me because we were always very good friends, and I think they liked me a lot. But I don't think like I don't think even I would leave. Like, I don't think I would leave Renegades. Like, let's say, because teams were like, "Oh, you're starting to perform again. FaZe maybe want you back." And I was like, "No, they don't want me back." But and then they were like, "If they offer you, would you go?" I'm like, "No, I wouldn't go." Like, I have been through shit. Like, I have felt shit chemistry, been shit, felt shit, like all that shit. I don't want that. I want, like, I was happy where I was, and I wouldn't accept any offers, honestly. Maybe Australis. But except for, and actually that's kind of interesting as well. Actually, this is not an offer though, but CSPPA people, I don't know. I don't really have that good of a relationship. I don't have a relationship, honestly. And they called me one time and said, like, when Astralis was making this like 7-man, 8-man roster, that they were interested in me. And I was like, okay, who said that? Who am I talking with? Never heard anything again. So I was like, okay, pretty cool. Just say that to me without like anything.
One thing, if people will notice you keep referring to, because this is what's weird about being a pro, is sometimes you actually are going to be cut. And sometimes there isn't a rumour, and you're like, what the fuck? Everyone knew except me. And then you look at your fucking teammates and you just tell by their face, they definitely knew, they just didn't say, you know. Yeah. And by the way, you can be in that position yourself. It's awkward, like the guy next to you, he's probably going to get cut and say, hey. Yeah. And then he's going like, oh, we'll do that better in the next tournament, bro. And you're like, yeah, I don't know about that, mate. Yeah, we'll try out it. It's weird like that. Like the rumours in CS are crazy. It's worse than football. Like they are all circling the whole time. Like as you say, sometimes it's not even real, but you're hearing rumours like, I might get caught. This guy's getting brought in.
I mean, it's tough. It's tough as a player. Lucky for me, like I have never been cut. I benched myself one time, and then it's just like. But the thing is always there. Like if you want to cut someone, like you even saw, like I don't know how many weeks it was ago, but like Beamos wrote that he was showing up for training, and then fuck it, I'll be cut.
Yeah.
Like it still happens, Oh,
classic.
So, I mean, it's always at the back of your head. Like it's your job, and nobody wants to lose their job unless there is. I'm 100% there is player that wants to lose their job, but.
Sure.
I mean, because if you bench yourself, then you kind of remove your right for salary.
Yeah, exactly.
But if they bench you, then you still have the right? So
yes, exactly.
I'm sure there is someone out there that would like to be benched.
That's actually a pro move he's just giving you there for your young player. Don't ever bench yourself. Yeah, make them bench you. Then you get the half salary or whatever. Don't you? Exactly.
I remember that in FaZe. I benched myself and I was like, oh, salary day, where the fuck's the salary?
There you go. Right.
No salary for
me. Exactly.
Right.
So yeah, go on. One thing I wanted to ask you in general then is, like we said at the beginning, like you might never have had a CSGO career. Like you tried early on, €100. I'm sure your family were probably like, look, try this for a while, but like you have to have a real job at one point in time.
It was rougher than that. Like, what the fuck are you doing? Like,
okay, right, just straight up telling you. Yeah, exactly.
100%.
Isn't it wild that in 2022 you still played as a pro, and who knows where this team could go? Like, you've got a pretty good career.
Yeah, I mean, the thing when I look back at my career, like the only. My career is kind of like, I think my career is a little bit exciting because it's been like up and down, and then eventually, like usually people start off like skyrocketing and then they just like slowly dip off. For me, like I skyrocketed, fell all the way down, and then I took myself up to become this like consistent player that like because in 100 Thieves and Renegades, like I never dropped like 125 rating tournaments, but I was always consistent, like 110.
Yes.
And that was like my kind of. That was me in CS, I feel like, and I was happy with that. But like I never won anything, and that is the big thing. Like
right,
and it hurts. It hurts, of course. But of course, I'm happy with the career. But I feel like I had the chance. I was there. I was there with Renegades. I was there with 100 Thieves. But we just never won anything, and it's painful. It's painful to think about, especially when you see like. Just surely we had like this one tournament, You see like you even see like North win the.
Yeah, you think even by accident Sean would win eventually, or the other guy just dies in a 1v1 at the end. You think so, right?
Yeah, surely like someone just the perfect like God just gave us a fucking tournament win, But it never happened with us, so that's painful. But I think my career has been fine. I'm happy with it. I'm happy. The most thing I'm proud of is that I took myself back from the grave and up. That is.
Oh, this is something I wanted to ask you about, because the other thing is I noticed, like I said, when I saw the guy at like ESL Cologne, here's the thing, mate, I won't lie to you, when I came back to that hotel room, you got eliminated. If I saw anyone from FaZe, I was just going to fucking go like, all right, bitch, what up now? Like, where the fuck, fuck me, And then the thing is, when I saw you, I was like, yeah, I feel sorry for him now, actually, mate. I was telling you, it'll be better, and the whole thing, he'll get better, like something will shit. But what I want to ask was this, I feel like at the time, your failures or your down periods, you took it really to heart. Like, it feels like it emotionally affected you. So I think if you really had have just gone out of CSGO then, it probably changed who you are as a person. Like, it sounds like actually overcoming that and, as you say, becoming a consistent player, find your role. By the way, you're someone that all the other teammates say they love to play with, all these Renegades guys, like you're one of their favourite teammates. It seems like you developed as a human as you got good at Counter-Strike.
100%. I definitely feel like I did, because I feel like I experienced, how it was to be on everyone's lips. Everyone's like, oh, this guy is gonna be the next star, blah blah blah. And then everyone is just saying the opposite. The same people that were saying you're gonna become a god are now saying you're a dog shit player, right? So I feel like I experienced both sides of it, and then you just need to realize what's good for you and good for yourself, and that is just consistency. Like, don't give a shit about that. Focus. And I was working really hard. And one of the things that I always think when I think back is when I lived in Norway, playing for FaZe, playing for G2 was working for me, but let's say playing for FaZe that wasn't working, and Dignitas, there was so many outside elements of real life disturbing me. So even though I went to America, lived there, was away for 6 months, it was tough, but there was only CS. I didn't need to focus on anything else, I spoke with my family, knew my family had it well, I was playing CS. What else? I didn't care about anything else. There was no girlfriends or party or drama or all that type of shit. So I definitely think that helped me a lot.
Right. By the way, since you said you would have joined North, but it would have been a Scandinavian lineup, one thing I want to ask, because this is always so confusing, I think I understand it, but I want you to explain it to people. So the reason it's going to be confusing is, I said earlier, Danes and Norwegians and Swedes all understand each other. That's similar enough, and obviously the accent's not too crazy. It's just certain words mean slightly different things. But technically, if people look it up, technically Norwegians speak the same language as Danes, but obviously they have a different pronunciation thing, right? Could you, in theory, have played in an all-Danish team? Could you actually have been in one that just spoke Danish? Would it have been difficult? Would you have been able to adapt quickly? What would the status of that have been?
I don't know. RUBINO managed to do it in North, but I know he had a girlfriend in Denmark for many years, so that'll
help. Yes.
Yeah. I don't think I will be able to. Like you said, the weird thing is when Danish people is writing to me, they write the exact same words as we are.
Right.
But then when we talk, I don't understand a single word. The pronunciation of things is really weird. They have their own way. I don't know. And the same with Swedish. I don't think the Swedes understand the Norwegians, but the Norwegians understand the Swedes.
It's that way around, right?
So when we speak with them, we change to Swedish.
I see. Okay.
Yeah. So it's a little bit weird, but a Scandinavian team could work out as long as we didn't communicate in Danish. I feel like.
Do you actually think, by the way, you've obviously been in these international teams now, do you think, because you've seen, for me, the two that really made me think, wow, maybe it is just going to be Dota and it'll just be international teams it's one thing if, Norway or fucking whatever, Nico from Bosnia obviously has to play with people in English. As soon as Sweden and France stop speaking in their languages and go international, that's sort of the sign, isn't it? Those were the countries that always had 1 billion players and stuff. Do you think is the future of Counter-Strike just international teams? For example, will we ever get the Norwegian all team? Will we ever get the 5 Norwegians that are in quarters of a major or something?
I don't right now. I don't think so. Especially not with me and Rain. We are starting to get older. Maybe the younger generation can come up and make a good team. But I think with the older generation, we don't have a chance. In Norway, I can only think about 3 players that it's me, Rain, and Halsark that I think can potentially be good enough. And the rest I don't think is good enough right now. And I don't think they're willing to give it all either. And I don't think they know what it is about either, but definitely people can come up and prove you wrong. But I don't think Norway has it. But like you say, in French, the French best team is not even French anymore. What is it now? Is there is NIP in Sweden, and then we have some Danish teams. Except from that, who else is speaking the native languages? It's
not many.
No,
Mouse Sports, I guess. They're not big, rather. It's weird teams German team or something. Yeah, there's not that many left.
No, there's not that many left. So I feel like the future will probably be international. I feel like, but maybe not for the Russian teams and the CIS. They have so many players. I'm sure they can keep it in Russian. I feel like.
Yeah, one other thing I want to ask was, obviously he wasn't someone who played with you very often, but RUBINO was in a weird situation in his career because basically it's how your career could have gone, but then he never came back from it. People will know he could have stayed in that North team. They actually really liked him. I know they thought he was like, MSL thought he was a great support player, and they loved the chemistry and stuff. When he sort of chose to step back, there was always constantly like, right, he's going to come back in this lineup, and then he did come back in smaller teams. Can you explain this guy? Because on the one hand, he seemed like he had a good mentality for his role, but he just didn't like something about playing in other countries or something, or going abroad. What was the issue, do you think?
I know that the girlfriend that he had back in the day was not a big supporter of him traveling a lot.
Right.
So there is one issue. And then I think, I think if he could go back in time, he would never left North, 100%.
Right.
Because we have spoken about it and he regrets it a lot. And then when you leave a good team and you go down lower to a lower team and it's not really working out, you have to change your mentality and it's pretty hard. And I think it was really tough for him. And I don't know, like, players just face different type of difficulties on the way. And I definitely feel like he's been a little bit unlucky. Like, he got the shot again in Heroic. It wasn't like a tier 1 team at the time. But he had some, I can't remember who, like 100% he played with. It was like Nico, Yugi, Snoppy.
Maybe Freiburg or something. It was one of those weird lineups, right?
Snoppy and Muddy, maybe? Or
okay. Yeah, that could be it.
Yeah, it could be it. Yeah, and he, like, first his arm was painful, so he didn't play. And then there was something with his eye, so he couldn't see on one eye for like 3 months. So, like, the guy has definitely faced some,
okay.
Had a little bit of unluck. So, yeah, I don't know. It is, like I said, like, I think it's hard when you get out of the circuit to come back into it. And like for me, it worked out. But when I see like tier 1 players or players that played on tier 1 leave, it's hard for them to come back. Like right now, I don't know, but I can just try to give you an example of who I think it can happen with now in the future. Like Tizian, for example, if he doesn't come back into big, I don't think he's going to go to an international team. I don't think he's going to go back to tier 1 instantly. So it is fucking hard to take that step back. But now you saw like Keto, for example, from Big did the opposite. Like he went to the academy team, proved himself, came back to like. So I don't know. It is hard. So when you get when you leave that circuit, it's fucking hard to get in.
At the end of this interview, do you have a final message? Is someone you want to thank or say hello to?
I mean, if I had to say anything, I would say that I appreciate everyone that I've ever played with, and especially thank you to the Renegades boys, to the 100 Thieves boys. And then keep believing in the current team, and hopefully we will deliver some good results. And keep supporting us. Tusen tack, indeed.
This video was kindly supported by Kill Your Inner Loser, Ahmed Haju, Matt Pugnaccio Racula, Paul Villa, Travis Goff, Adam Oaks, Animosity, Bot Pounder 420, Hades, Jensen Go, Kovacevic, Pacey, Tobias Bernasconi, Tosh, Toucan, and as always, special thanks goes out to Jerky's Minion. Do you want to suggest a topic or a guest for my shows? Would you like to ask a question in my Patreon AMA? Maybe you want teasers, find out who the next Reflections guests are or upcoming talk show guests. Do you want to take part in one of those long donated discussions with me? Well, if any of the above or more sound interesting to you, put your money where your mouth is. Join the Illuminati today via the Patreon link in the description box below.